All right, Shabbat Shalom, my Hebrew people. So, your brother Zekiah back at you. So let's get a couple things clear from the jump. All right, well, more than a few things. Um, Number one, we are not Jews. Okay, you hear a lot of Israelites, particular certain camps and people that call themselves Black Israelites. The quote I gave you up front is something I tell people all the time. As long as you refer to people as black and white in colors, you'll never understand our book. Period. The problem a lot of Israelites are having, or it's the whole black and white color game. It's the Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid game. These things have created in the 1800s. All these different ways of defining people was not how people defined each other in antiquity. So, like I said, Jew and all this other crap, we're not Jews. Period. Like I said, you can leave that to Esau, Edom. The series is about Edom, and that's who are the Jews. You look at the word Yahudi, where they say the word Jew comes from. Once again, Saddam Hussein is still Saddam Hussein. Okay. Benjamin Netanyahu is Benjamin Netanyahu. His name doesn't change in different languages. Matter of fact, when you look at different languages on television, that's one of the main things you can still read if you don't read that language is the names. So when we go to the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 9, for then will I turn to the people in pure language, they may call upon the name of Yah to serve him with one consent. The reason we don't serve Yah with one consent is because you have Yahweh, 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 Yehovah, Yahuwah, all these different versions of the name. And we'll get into the name as well. We'll cut that crystal clear so everybody will be able to call on the actual name of the Creator. But I want to go back. This Edom, who is Edom? A lot of people, as long as you keep thinking of white Jews, and the word Jew in your head means white, and real Jew means black. As long as you have that paradigm in your head, you'll never understand our book. That is a promise. You can't understand the book. Yes, you can remember and memorize scriptures, or letters if you're into the New Testament, but you'll never understand the prophecies in our books because you have failed for the narrative that they have given you. That narrative is black Hebrew Israelites, BHI, black, an adjective describing the Israelites, as if there's any other type. But once again, we're not even black. See, we got to stop using this foolish nonsense. You give a child that is 3 years old, I give my 4-year-old son or my 5-year-old son a coloring book and say, hey, color this character. They'll never pull out the crayon black. They'll always use a crayon. Okay? And even with Europeans, the Caucasians, whatever you want to call them, they'll pull out a peach color or a pink. Now, how is it that children are able to understand this, but adults can't understand it? So we got to get that out of our head first. Wash your brain. Take the brain, clean the brain. There's no such thing as black people. There's no such thing as white people. Now, I know that's connotative language and language we use today, but once again, for you to understand this series, you're going to have to drop that vernacular because white people didn't enslave you. You enslaved yourself, and Yah put Caucasians and other races over you because you were wicked. Okay? So let's get into this series. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at dealing with the family tree of Esau and Yaakov, right? Later name changed to Israel. But Lanugu is this actual condition that every child pretty much has. Not really a condition. When child are born with lots of hair on them, usually in utero, when they're inside the actual fetus, they'll lose this hair, and the babies eat the hair, whatever the case may be. But then there are conditions where people are born with this hair, and it's very common amongst twins. So Jacob and Esau were twins, mean they were pretty much almost certainly going to be premature. Now the hypertrichosis, I don't think they had that to that degree where they look like the werewolf people, but there's varying degrees of it as well. So when we look at a typical black baby that's smooth skinned, and like I said, the term Lanugu comes from the Latin down, which is the land of wool, which is a wool type. So it's referring to the texture because in BARASHIYTH 25 or Genesis 25, we see it talking about the hair, like a hairy garment, right? So it's referring to the texture, not really the color of the skin. But even if you play that game with the red or the ruddiness, and we'll see this is Genesis 25:25, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So red like a hairy garment. There are no hairy garments. Hair doesn't come out the color of what we would call typical the color red. Now in this in this verse, looking at the definition of it, you see at money, reddish of the hair or the complexion, red, ruddy. And that's where they actually put the game in on people. This term is only mentioned 3 times, right? And it's dealing with either King David, or it's dealing with Esau, right? So for a lot of Israelites that like to sit down and say, hey, well, you know what? The Esau was red and the blood showed through his face. That is the more modern interpretation of the actual definition of ruddy. The reason I know this is because these chestnuts you see in the background, they're ruddy. It's a maroonish, like a reddish, brownish type color. Okay? So when you look at 1 Samuel 16 and 12, and he sent and brought a man, now he was ruddy and with all beautiful countenance and goodly to look at, and the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. This is talking about King David, Governor David. So as you can see, even in 1 Samuel 17:14, it's still talking about David. Ruddy. And they'll sit there and tell you what ruddy means, to show the blood through the face. Blushing. No, it doesn't. Because this picture right here is of a ruddy duck. Now, this duck is not called ruddy because of his cheeks. And he's definitely not by the top of his head, the black, or the white cheeks, or the blue bill. It's the actual reddish brown ruddy color. Most people, most African Americans, so-called African Americans, have this ruddy color. So when you look at this duck, which is literally called a ruddy duck, is this what they're saying when they say ruddy duck? Is this somehow equating to this? That's blushy. That's blood showing through the face. That's not ruddy. Maybe a new interpretation of ruddy. Give you an example. Chestnut is a color, a medium reddish shade of brown, displayed right, and is named after another chestnut. An alternate name for the color is Badius, an Indian red. See, it's dark tan, almost appears to be brown. So once you get a chance to actually look at that, you see, here's a ruddy goat. That's a ruddy goat. So when Esau came out looking with that type of fur on him, well, I won't say fur, but the type of hair on him, or you just Google ruddy goat, you'll see this. Do you think this ruddy goat is the same thing as literally saying this? See, but as long as you play the black and white game, that's how the definitions change for people. That's how they're able to confuse people. You see, the main problem we have is that we're trying to get Europeans, Caucasians, whatever you want to call them, we're trying to get other people other than the children of Israel to define us and admit who we are. Listen, if you don't know your Israel with the inferiority complex that somebody must show you that you're Israel, you have a major problem. Looking at this picture here, you can see my forearm clearly. I am ruddy. I am literally the definition of the color ruddy. The contrast is off a little bit because of the flash on my laptop, but as you can see, I am ruddy colored, right? And this is what, when you start playing this black and white paradigm, then when they throw stuff in like ruddy means blushing, or well, black people don't blush like that, or we got to be very light skinned, or all these different things. That's when they throw that stuff in on you, right? So you look at somebody like a dark brown. When you look at Don Cheadle, right? Don Cheadle is dark skinned. He's a dark brown. We're not black people. We're not black people. That was what was given to us to shame us, because the word black, especially in reference to our skin, has negative connotations to it, and we fall for it every single time. So with that being the case, we're going to go into the Esau. We know Esau was a dark-skinned man, and we're going to tie him into the Limber tribe. Yes, the Limber tribe. So just look at that. Obadiah, the only chapter, says what? The Esau is small amongst the heathen. There's over 1+ billion so-called Caucasians. Okay? There's a little over 7 billion people on the planet. That's not small amongst the heathen. You look at these numbers: 388,000 in Canada, 290,000 in the UK, 180,000 in Argentina, Russia 179,000, Germany 117,000, Australia 113,000, Brazil 94,200, Ukraine 56,000, South Africa 69,500, Hungary 47,600, Mexico 40,000, Belgium 29,500. Look at the percentages: 0.2% in Belgium. So you only have a little over 14 million Edomites or Jews on the planet. There's 7 billion people again on the planet. Only 14 million are Jews. Not even a quarter of a billion people. Okay? So, how's the so-called white man Esau?